All right, so we're gonna start with West Africa. All right, yesterday the only region that we covered was North Africa or the Kingdom of Axum. So start off with West Africa. We're going to see some expansion, well, a lot of expansion of Islam. All right, so yesterday talking about the North, we've seen Coptic Christianity. In the West, we're going to see the expansion of Islam. With that, is also going to be the spread of the Arabic language. Right? So West Africa becomes a predominantly Arab-speaking region. Right? Arab-speaking region. The first kingdom that we're talking about is Ghana in West Africa. They're going to be known for their gold and salt trade. Um, we understand how valuable gold is. It's still valuable today. We probably don't understand the value of salt. All right, think about this as the Middle Ages. Um, they don't have refrigerators. All right, so salt is used for everything. All right, salt is used for disinfectant. Right, any kind of wounds, anything they use for disinfectant. It's used to preserve food. It's also used to dry up things. Right? If something is wet, it's something salt absorbs water. All right, so salt is very valuable at this time. So it's traded often for gold. So gold and salt trade. The land of Ghana, very wealthy because it's called the land of gold. All right, a lot of gold in West Africa. The kings, all right, the kings did not convert to Islam. All right, they stuck to their traditional African beliefs, um, but they expected the people to, all right, and the people did. All right, so it's a divide between the people in power and the actual citizens, the average people, and that's going to be ultimately that's going to be the demise of Ghana. All right, the divide between the kings who don't convert and the people who do convert to Islam. Next kingdom in West Africa is Mali. All right. Also, same region, so of course it's going to be gold still. Wealth comes from the gold trade. They eventually conquer Ghana. All right, they eventually conquer an older, weaker Ghana. The ruler, the king that we're talking about, and we have talked about, you guys did the Ed puzzle for, is Mansa Musa. All right, he encouraged Islam, he converted to Islam. He also built a university in Timbuktu. All right, so Timbuktu is actually a real city in Mali. He's going to create the first university there. All right, Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, you've seen the Ed puzzle, so you know richest man in the world or richest man in history, and that's because he controlled so much gold. All right, he had so much land, so much land full of gold. They say he's the richest man in history. His demise, Mali's demise, is going to come from kind of from Mansa Musa. Right, he's going to bring a lot of attention um, to West Africa. I remember they showed in the video talking about his pilgrimage to Mecca, right, which is Islamic tradition. Right, talking about his pilgrimage to Mecca and him crossing across Africa, coming in contact with Africans and also Europeans, and they looking at this guy who's having all this gold. He has gold necklaces, gold chains, and saying, where is he from? All right, let's go back to where he's from. And once they figure out where Mansa Musa is from in West Africa and Mali, everybody starts to come. Everybody wants to get a piece of that. The next great kingdom in West Africa is Songhai, or Songhai. The leader in Songhai is Sunni Ali. Sunni Ali is going to build a vast military state, kind of similar to, I don't know if I mentioned this on a maybe a lecture last week. I'm talking about the Spartans, all right, not the Pinal Valley Spartans. Talking about the Spartans, who were a military state, right? All about fighting, all about military, all about um, building soldiers at young ages. All right, so same thing we have with some military state. They expand their empire. They're going to rule for 1,000 years. All right, but rule for a pretty long time in West Africa. The only thing is that they lack modern weapons. So once times change and industrial revolution is about to begin and machines are about to be built, um, we We have guns eventually built in those 1,000 years. A lot of the weaponry changes, and how the Songhai people got in power is not how the world is fighting anymore. All right, the world has guns, and the people of West Africa, for the most part, do not have those guns. So they lack modern weapons, and that's going to lead to their demise and fall in 1591 to present day Morocco, our country of Morocco. Um, yeah, so West Africa. All right, so these places kind of give it a little geography with it. All right, Mali over to the left, Ghana, Songhai, Benin, Hassa. All right, so pretty much the same region. All right, still West Africa, and we're going to talk about this later in the school year too. West Africa being known for its gold. All right, known for its gold, all right, and that bringing problems. All right, but anyway, gold and salt trade, gold coming from West Africa, and then the salt is actually coming from, if you guys recognize this place, the salt is coming from the Sahara Desert. All right, the salt is coming from the desert. Years ago, centuries ago, millions, thousands of years ago, the Sahara Desert was actually a sea. All right, it's probably really the Mediterranean Sea. All right, it's probably that the Mediterranean Sea was over the Sahara Desert. All right, so the Sahara Desert was under the sea. And what it left behind is salt reserves. All right, so the water dried up, but underneath the ground is huge salt reserves. All right, so that's why people live in the desert. They mine the salt, they find the salt, and they travel across the desert to trade to places for different goods. In this case, gold. All right, piece of gold from Ghana. All right. You see, all right, different groups traveling using camel to transport the salt. All right, so these things down here are huge salt tablets or pellets. All right, salt, salt, salt. This is a primary source. All right, it's a primary source. Again, lack of written history in Africa is a huge problem. So a lot of times we have to depend on what somebody else at that time said about Africa as they visited. All right, so in this case, this guy, Al Bakri, he went to Ghana and he wrote down what he's seen. All right, so I'll let you guys read that. All right, another map. See Timbuktu located in the middle, all right between that gold and salt trade, those trading routes, and Timbuktu Heavenly Clay. All right, so Heavenly Clay buildings. Again, we talked about yesterday, or for the other classes on Monday. Um, a lot of people came into Africa and they discredit their history. They discredit what they did. Was it a sophisticated civilization or not? The the remains and the buildings, the structures that are left behind, they debunk that. All right, they go against that. So even though it wasn't written down, the history, seeing these structures that you know there was a sophisticated civilization. These were smart people. These were intelligent people. They had to have some kind of measuring system, right? They had to know how to build things, all right? So that's one picture of it. This is the top picture of it. Top picture, rooftop of the mosque. All right, still standing, still strong. All right, great mosque, also in Mali. All right. All right, this is a map. And if you look closely at the map, you see down here a guy, that's Mansa Musa, all right, holding a piece of gold nugget. So when we said yesterday the maps early on in the 1500s, 1600s made by Europeans, they didn't really focus on Africa because they felt like it wasn't nothing important in Africa. All right, but what they did put on the map is gold. All right, they put gold in West Africa, so they let everybody know around the world if they wanted to find gold, they could go to West Africa and find it. All right, and even more so, these people in West Africa didn't have guns, so if you wanted to go and take it, you can go and take it. All right, all right, moving to the east. All right, moving to East Africa, self-governing city-states. All right, made up of city-states. We will hear that term a lot. They trade with the interior. All right, so from the East Coast, they go back to the West, to the interior, also to trade with people. They also trade across the Indian Ocean. They trade with China, and they trade along the coast. So kind of like the North. All right, they're able to see other people. They come in contact with other cultures, different people from outside of Africa, Europeans, people from the Middle East, and then people from Southeast Asia. So they have a lot of culture. They're influenced heavily by the Arab traders. All right, people coming from the Middle East, they're influenced heavily. Language, culture, they begin over the centuries to adopt those things that they find. An example case study is Zanzibar. All right, Zanzibar is a place where they traded slaves. All right, and this is way before the transatlantic slave trade. All right, this is way before that. In this slave trade, it wasn't about race. It wasn't that only one group of people are slaves. It was anybody. All right, and it's mostly prisoners. Right, if you did a crime or something, you did something wrong, or you're a prisoner of war, you were captured and then sold off as slaves to different places. All right, so that's the big difference between a transatlantic slave. We'll talk about that later. They're going to mix their African traditions with Arab culture. All right, so you see a clash of culture, makes it unique. They're going to mix their culture and language also, and this is going to be called Swahili. All right, today it's known as just a language, but it's also a culture behind it, and it's an African and Arab culture. Swahili. All right, in the red you see the Swahili speaking areas in East Africa. Um, some countries you may know, some countries may not know. All right, Zaire we'll talk about a little later. Zambia we'll talk about. All right, so the coast. Bantu plus Arabic. And then going down to the south, the stateless societies. All right, South Africa. Finish this off. From the basin of the Congo River, all right, so the bottom of the Congo River to the Cape of Good Hope, and that's all the way at the south tip of South Africa. Is a stateless society. Power is not in the government. It's in the people. All right, so the people, kind of not a form of democracy, but it is it's a place where the people have a say. Right? Maybe the elders or some kind of committee, but it's not in the hierarchy of the government. Progress made with regional trade, so they trade locally. All right, in South Africa. The case study for this one is Zimbabwe. All right, also means sacred house or great stone house. The capital of Zimbabwe is Great Zimbabwe. Benefited from trade with the interior and coast. Right, so again, trading with people in Central Africa and people on the coast, the east coast of Africa. They have evidence of great wealth. But Great Zimbabwe, the capital city, was abandoned. Again, lack of written history leads us to question. We see structures, and we'll see some pictures. We see structures left behind. We know it seemed like a great civilization, evidence of great wealth, obviously intelligent because they were able to put these structures together. But again, lack of written history leads us to question. All right, so exactly what we said on the first day of the griots, when you are invaded or taken over, and Europeans come to Africa and they don't respect the culture, they don't respect the idea of having griots, um, they're going to destroy a lot of this stuff. All right, so a lot of this history is lost, and it's hard to tell. So we see some structures from Great Zimbabwe, its capital city. Again, um, imagine imagine less trees. All right, imagine more buildings, more structures. All right, so showing the idea of intelligence, the idea of great wealth, but we can't put it all together. All right, we can't put it all together. For some reason, it was abandoned. And we say it was abandoned. We're able to understand that it was abandoned because when they dig up these grounds, they don't find bodies. All right, if a place was thriving and everybody was killed and died, we will find bones. We'll find human remains. All right, but for whatever reason, for some reason, it's no human remains in Great Zimbabwe. All right, and we'll see that story again in when we talk about the history of Mexico. All right, no human remains, so we feel like it's abandoned, and we don't know why. All right, we don't know why. All right, Great Zimbabwe Street, some more structures. All right, great enclosure. All right, so that's it. Um, so use this. We're using this PowerPoint to go back and finish those notes. All right, the second page of notes. I'll post another video with kind of talking about the assignments. All right, but that's it for the PowerPoint.